Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. My friend came to visit from out of town and she stayed with us and we had such a beautiful time. We were just exploring our neighborhood. Like we decided that it was just going to be a hangout weekend. Like don't bring any nice clothes because we're not going out, we're not partying, we're not going to a fancy restaurant. We're just going to hang out and explore the neighborhood because I live in this really quirky, cool part of town. And it's known for its art and food. So we just walked around, and the great thing is that everything's in walking distance. So we walked around, we hung out, we worked in the yard together, like got some good headway done on my walkway that I'm installing. And just really just enjoyed each other's company in a low key kind of way. It was beautiful.
Nice. I love
Beautiful. How
that.
about you? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was busy. I had like a book club brunch thing for with some of my girlfriends, and then we went to my one of my girlfriend's house, Yulia, and then Jay came home from Texas on Sunday because he was out there hunting. So everyone was home, and it was a good weekend, busy, and here we are back at it. So
So is this the week that you're doing the workshop, the burnout workshop with teachers? Or was
okay.
that last week?
My first one was about 4 weeks ago, and then my second one is in December. So, yeah.
Oh, I thought when we were talking about it for some reason, I thought that that was coming up like this week or maybe it was last week.
Oh, yeah. No,
Um,
the next one's in December. So, good memory
okay.
though.
Okay. Can you hear my dog? She's like decided now that she's gonna chew on her super loud bone.
No, I can't hear her.
Okay. Okay, good. Only me then.
Uh,
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
So here we are in our second episode. Super excited to be here.
Yeah.
Um, what shall we talk about today? I know that we talked about a couple of things that were on our minds. I honestly can't remember what mine was. If you can remember yours, we can start there.
Okay. And I would love to, but I also was thinking maybe at the beginning of all of our calls, we can talk about like one or two like big wins that we had last from like just last week, whether it was like growth from a workshop we did, growth from an article we read, or even just like landing a new client, and then offering maybe like what's something that you learned that was really interesting from last week, and then we'll end it that way too. So then that way we're kind of encouraging each other to keep growing and reading, which we do. I know that you and I do, but for those people that are just learning us and our personalities, it's fun to share some little Easter eggs, I think.
I love that. I love that. I already know mine. I'm excited to share it.
Okay, go. Yeah.
So I was recently reminded of this book that I've had sitting on my shelf. I probably the first time I read it was, I don't know, maybe like more than 5 years ago. And it's a true gem. It is basically the basis of everything that I'm doing now with my work, when it comes to our careers and how to, make the little changes, the little pivots in our career that allow us to live a more fulfilled life, right? Because ultimately it behooves all of us to make the most of this one life that we get to live, right? And our career enables us to live that life. And so, anyway, this book really underpins the entire concept of my work. And it's called The Power of Purpose: Find
Mm.
Meaning, Live Longer and Better by Richard Leider. Like I said, the first time I read this book was maybe like 5 years ago. I was reminded of it because a friend asked if I had it, and I said, yes, I have it. But you know what? I want to keep this because you just reminded me of it and I want to read it again. So I'm just going to send you one on Amazon. And I sent it to him. But yeah, I sat down this morning. I actually spent the morning reading the beginning of it and I was just like, okay, but like the timing of this is perfect, right? Because like in our last conversation, I was just talking about how I'm being much more intentional, even more intentional now about giving myself the time away from work, right? To do the things that I love to do, the things that are important to me, spending time with people that matter to me, right? Like all the things that make my life worth living. I'm giving myself intentionally making time for those things more now than ever. And doing that is a really nice opportunity to just kind of like reassess, some things. And this book, I was just reminded of this book now, which like the timing couldn't be any better. So reacquainting myself with The Power of Purpose by Richard Leider is like, it's validating in a lot of ways. It's validating, it's affirming me, what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, how I'm talking about things, how I'm embodying the concepts into my own life. And I actually just got off right before this call. I just got off of a meeting with a friend, one of my longest, time friends. I was just telling her, I've known you for most of your life. You do realize that, right? Because like she was talking about some changes that she's making, some realizations that she's made, and we were talking through those things. And I was saying how I could see, I could see in her that there were some things that really needed her time and attention to look at it and make some decisions about them. And she finally gave herself the time and space to do that. So she's come to some really profound realizations. Her perspective has changed on some things, and now she feels lighter. She feels more vibrant. And she's excited about talking about her family coming to her house for Thanksgiving, right? They're all going to be there, and her parents especially, she's really interested, like she's excited to spend time with them because she's really looking forward to having this conversation about how she's like finding her purpose in her life. And this was completely independent of me ever even bringing up this book, but we were talking about that and how her parent, like one of the things in this book, so I'm gonna, like, I need to rein it in because otherwise I'll talk about this all day. But one of the things that was really powerful in this book is that people don't usually stop to assess what their purpose is in this life, right? And until there's some kind of major crisis. There is a life-threatening illness, there's the loss of somebody that's close to them, there's a divorce that they weren't anticipating to have, like some major, a layoff, a loss of a job, like some major life change that has caused a crisis for them. And when they embrace that as an opportunity, then they assess and they ask themselves the question, what is it that's really important to me? What do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to, on my last day, when I look back on my life, what do I want to feel? And how can I start living my life now intentionally so that I feel that on my last day, right? And it says that, and she's around our age, like in the middle of her career. The interesting thing is that it says that usually it takes some kind of a major life crisis for people around our age to ask ourselves those questions. But as people are older in their life, it doesn't require a crisis. They're naturally looking back on their life and they bring with them all of those years of life experience and the perspective that comes with them. So they are more open to having those conversations. And not only that, they're at a point in their life where they want to give back, right? And they want to share all of that wisdom that they've accumulated over their life. And she's at a place now where she's just really open and excited for that. And I was just like, I guess the reason why I'm sharing this as a win is because like if sometimes things come into my path, and I now look at it like, there's a reason why this is coming into my path right now. And I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to give it some of my time and attention. And I did that with this book. And as soon as I opened it, I was like, oh, wow. And then right after, had a conversation where everything in here is so relevant to what we were talking about. So, anyway, huge win to just like my level of mindfulness. Like I'm being intentional about allowing myself to be mindful, which is huge. It's huge for me, especially right now. Like I'm totally feeling it. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. That's a huge win. It's a validating win too, right? Because it's nice to be reminded. We know this is our passion and this is our life's work to do the work that we're doing. But when we receive external validation in ways that we least expect, it's such a beautiful gift. And it's an encouragement to just keep going and know that we're on the right path and that we're in alignment. So that is a phenomenal win. I love it.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. It is a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear if you want to share about your wins.
Yeah. So we'll do two, like one now, one later. So
Okay.
the first one I'll start with is that last week I landed a fairly good sized client, and he has like a team of 30 people. And he wants me to step in and just be with them and support his team. And he was a referral to me, or he came as a referral to me. And he very much trusts the person that referred me as a previous client, and she was like, Anna's really good, whatever, whatever. And then he talked with me, and in the conversation, he was just saying that everything she had said, he heard and he saw, because we just were talking on the phone. We weren't even on like a Zoom. And it was such a gift to feel like, number one, past clients are out there singing my praises. And number two, new people who meet me are validating, like, yes, like the way that you present yourself and the way that you talk and the way that you think is very much in line with what I want for my team. And so it was so beautiful and it felt so good. And I just, knowing that, again, the impact that we make on people, even though we can see that in quick moments, that when we see them grow, when we see them make a change, when we see them start to really lean on the tools that we've equipped them with and watch how it changes them in their lives. But to know that the impact is bigger than what we can truly witness. And so and I know that you and I have been receiving a lot of clients lately because of referrals. And it's just such a beautiful testament to the work that we're doing and the people who appreciate us, because it could go one of two ways. They find, and this is great, actually, this is great because this is a segue into, I think, one of the things that I think we were going to talk about. But knowing that we make a difference, knowing that we're heart-centered, knowing that we put the people that we work with first and really come alongside them and walk them through the journey that they're on and just be with them. It impacts them in ways that you almost can't even, it's not tangible and it's almost hard to describe, but when you have a complete stranger come to you and say, she said this, and everything I've heard in our conversation, it completely matches and aligns, and it's a no-brainer to like have you come on board. I'm super excited. And just this visionary space of like, I know you can do it. And you're like, wow, I don't even thank you. You just met me, but thank you. And so anyhow, but it speaks volumes to the work that you and I do, right? And I feel like when I talk with you and for our viewers, I just want to make it clear that you have your work in your companies and I have my work in my companies. And so when I say we for you and I, it's not that we have a joint business. We just very much appreciate each other. And so anyhow, when we do the work that we do, it's so impactful and it's so beautiful. And to just be appreciated by someone who doesn't even know you, it just speaks volumes. And it's, again, validating. And it's like why we do this. And it goes back to that quote from that book that I shared with you a while back, that Think and Grow Rich. Oh no, We Were Born Rich. And his quote was, we serve people and use money. We don't use people and serve money. And so when we always operate from that space of heart and how we can truly help, it's always successful. Anyhow, so that was a really great win. I'm super excited about it. I was so humbled by just the way he was speaking with me, and just the like belief. Like he just walked in with this idea of, I almost think he was like, prove me right, was almost the mentality. And then I did, without even meaning to. And the words that come to mind are, so the boys are in basketball and their coach tells them, you need to be humble, hungry, and smart. And so I was thinking like that is very much whether I heard it subconsciously and that was my like deliverance when I was talking with that new client, or if it was just the way we operate, because we do have to be hungry for the people we serve, right? We want to grow, we want to help others, we want to continue to help new people as well as anyone who needs us from our past. But humble, hungry for it, and smart. And so anyway, such a big win. I was so grateful and just kind of not surprised in a way of like, I don't know, just surprised in the way that this stranger was like full belief in me when I never talked to the person before. So it was just really, really nice, a beautiful gift. So I'm so grateful. That was a really wonderful win. So,
Well, I'm super excited for you. And, congratulations, by the way. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. But I now that you are talking about that, it reminds me of one of the things that we said that we wanted to talk about today. It just goes so beautifully with what you were just describing. Number one, I don't know about you, but my best fit clients are the ones that come from referrals, right? Like the people that really understand what we're doing, what we're about, and who we're trying to serve, because we can't serve the whole world. There are like specific people that we are best suited to serve, and our referral partners, our previous clients, acquaintances, friends, people that know us and really understand what we're doing, what we're about, how we help, and who we help, they're the ones that send the best fit clients for us, right? So there's like there's a kind of a road that we can take down in this conversation around marketing, which no doubt we're gonna take that one. There's another road that's about who is our ideal client and who exactly is it that we are best suited to serve. Because the better we know that, number one, the more enjoyment we get out of our work. But besides that, that's a byproduct. The real thing is that those people that are best suited to work with us, that we're best suited to work with them, are the ones that really achieve those out of this world outcomes from the work that they end up doing with us, right? They get better results, they get them faster, their life changes in an even more dramatic way, right? So it's like that ever elusive, like, who is that person? Like continuing to identify who exactly is that person. And that's something that evolves over the years, right? Like I don't know about you, but when I started out, I was like, anybody that needs help with their career, I'm here to help them. And over time, it's become much more specific, right? There's still a ways to go, but it's become more specific. So I'd love to talk about that, but the more that we know that, the better our messaging can be in our marketing efforts, because then we're talking more specifically and directly to them. And I think that what's really interesting too, just to kind of like finish the thoughts that were going through my head while you were sharing your amazing news, is that the person that you were talking to was like, prove me right. Like, I want what you have. I want you to bring that over here with my team and just confirm that, because I'm so excited about this. I want to, I want to go ahead and do it. So prove me right. Right.
yeah.
Now I lost my train of thought, but there was another, it's about, so that third kind of leg to this is knowing ourselves.
Yes.
Right? As human beings and as service providers, and what turns us on, right? Like about our work and about the people that we love to serve. It's knowing us and leaning into our authentic selves and the real us, because the people that are going to connect to that are our people. Yes. So, okay, those Those were the big things that I was thinking about while you were talking. Does any of that sound like something that you want to discuss today on this episode?
Yeah, I think that we should tackle maybe the marketing. And then I think that we should also tackle the importance of when we lean into our authentic selves, we are coaches that stand out, right? So that was one of the things I think we were going to talk about is there are so many coaches in this world. There are so many. And a lot of them, I think, value their monetary growth as maybe a measurement of success, a measurement of fulfillment, or just, I don't know, that's just where they find their satisfaction. But in the trade-off of a coach that is so hungry for the money, the support and the growth that's received by the client is usually one of dissatisfaction because it doesn't matter if we are the coach or we're the client or we're at a restaurant or if we're getting our gas filled or it doesn't matter. We want to be seen. If you're talking to the person who's at the grocery store checking out your groceries and they say, "How are you?" but they don't look at you, it feels like, are they talking to me? I don't know. But when they look at you and say, "How are you today?" in that split moment, you're like, whoa, that person just saw me. And they literally said, "How are you?" And so when we are in the industry that we work in, which is a coaching industry, what helps us stand apart isn't the money that we make. It isn't the client testimonials that we put on saying, you know, look, I just earned all this money because of the coach I'm working with. It's my life changed because Grisel was able to pull me out of the darkest time when I thought there was no way. My life changed because when I thought nobody cared about me, Anna every day got on that call with me and looked at me and said, "How are you? But how are you really?" And those are the things that are not tangible, they're not measurable, but those are the pieces that forever change a person's life. And so the best coaches are not the ones that say, "Well, look at Tony Robbins. You never hear about how much money that guy's ever made, but we know he's good at what he does. We know he puts his heart forward. We know that he tries. We know that he fails and he's like pretty transparent." I mean, from what I know, I don't follow him to the point where I know all his stuff. But what I'm saying is, I feel like I've never heard him in my memory, although I'm not I've never gone to his stuff, but I've read a couple of his books, but you don't hear him talk about terms of money. You hear him talk about how he put the person that he was working with first, and all he cared about was helping them succeed. Now, if anyone's listening and you had a bad encounter with Tony Robbins, then forgive me because again, have not worked with him one-to-one. But what I'm saying is the most people that seem to have the largest impact on others is not those who talk about a monetary means or perspective, not through that scope. It's, I'm going to help this person because they were brought to me because they were meant to, for me to serve. I was meant to serve them, you know? And when we talk about working within our alignment of the people that we truly are getting great referrals from because they know us, they understand our personality, they know how we can help, we're able just to be who we are. And those people are able to receive the fruit of the labor because they're willing to put themselves out there, lean in, trust us, do the work, but they're also in alignment with kind of who we are as personalities, you know? And so I think that's something that we can talk about is, you know, a lot of times beginning coaches, naturally there's a scarcity mindset, like how you said, I'm going to help everybody. I just want to I can help everyone with their career. Of course, because you absolutely can. But at the end of the day, if they're not the right fit, it won't be rewarding for you or them. And so we have to remember that there are so many people in this world, and there are more than enough who are truly meant to come into alignment with us so that we can help them be the best possible version of themselves and give them joy and help them reset them on a trajectory of goodness and growth and joy and health. And so we don't have to worry about, well, I want to take this person, but really he or she wasn't very nice in the phone call. They were kind of brash and didn't really seem like my type of person, but I really want to make that money for the month. So I need to maybe try this out. It's okay to say thank you or not right now or no thank you, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because as coaches, we hire coaches ourselves,
Yes, we
right?
do.
Like nobody's an island. A lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us decided to hang up our own shingle, maybe after being an employee for a long time. And now we're switching from being an employee to being a business owner and like starting a new business from scratch. You know, some people that's their situation, not everybody, but right, like it's a different situation professionally to go from being a specialist in one thing within the context of a larger organization to now you being the organization and all of the parts of the organization, right? And like that's usually something that we need to get help with to do. And there are different types of help that we need along the way. But getting the right help at the right time from the right person is what we're searching for, right? As people that are wanting to start our own business or successfully run our own business and to grow our business, we need help to be able to do that. And ultimately, most people step into coaching because we want to help people make a transformation in their life, right? Like we're called to that, we're drawn to it. That's what we want to do. So to your point about it just makes me think of like my first coach that I ever had when I first started my first business, which is a consulting business, right? And I was still working as an employee when I started that business with a business partner. And we were like, we want to help everybody. We want to make a shit ton of money. And you know, we're gonna like make $1 million in the first year. Right? You know, we're certified, we're experienced, we eat, live, breathe this stuff, you know, all day, every day. We're doing this. So we hired a coach that was talking about scale your business, you know, make a whole bunch of money and, you know, help all the people and all this stuff. And we hired that coach, paid a lot of money for it. But that coach was, to your point, the one that's like, make this much money and you can make this much money in this amount of time and you know all this stuff and sharing all of these amazing testimonials from people that's like, wow, this is possible, it's doable, let's hire him, you know. And we bought into this program where we were not seen whatsoever. It was a year-long program where we had maybe like 4 to 6 individual check-ins, not even with that coach, with other people that he had hired to work in different specialty areas. It was like 4 to 6 touch points in the whole entire year. The rest of it was a group situation, which I'm not knocking group. I mean, I run a group program. I just have learned from my experience and I, you know, do it in a way where everyone feels seen, right? But I went through that experience and you know, when the year as we were going through the program and even at the end, we're like, this absolutely was not the right program for us. We're not even at the point yet to implement any of the things that we learned here. You know, we're still trying to figure out the foundation of our business and work on some basic things. And they're like, you know, so it was we shouldn't have even been allowed into the program because we just weren't there yet, you know, but it didn't matter to them. It was just like, come in and pay the money and now you're going to go into this thing where you're going to learn information that you may or may not be able to use, right? So there's like an integrity piece as well that we all have to keep at the forefront as coaches we're here to help people make significant changes in their life, and working with the right kind of person that is experiencing the specific challenge that we are uniquely positioned to help them overcome. That's important for our own integrity. Not to mention the outcomes that we can help people accomplish. Like, our name is associated with our work, and our reputation is everything. So being a coach that works in alignment with our integrity and working with the right people, those things go hand in hand to me. I mean, don't you think?
I fully agree. Yeah. Yeah. And to echo some of what you're saying, way back years ago, I was following this other coach and she was really wonderful. I jumped on one of her webinars, like follow along with me and I'll teach you some tools and this and that. And it was like a 3-day thing. And she gave really awesome like tips and tricks. But by the time it came for her to say, I mean, obviously we all know that they're going to do like a sales pitch. I mean, it's not like it was a secret, but it was so wonderful because she said after 3 days of like watching her and listening, and then I was kind of like, ooh, I kind of want to work with her. Granted, this was years ago. It wasn't like my business wasn't up and running. I didn't have like a regular clientele. I was really still trying to figure out how to even start a business. And she said, as she was giving her sales pitch, she said, if your business is not already up and running, do not work with me. I am not here to help you start your business. If you are established and you want to grow from where you are, then I am your person. But if you don't have a business already that's established and it's like not necessarily thriving, but like consistent enough, she's like, I'm not your person. And she said it with grace, and she said it with humility, and she said it with clarity. And I was so grateful for her because, again, speaking to your point, integrity. She's not, she wants to help people grow their business. She wants to show them how she did what she's done to grow and be where she's at in her life and in her business. But she's not going to falsely lead you thinking she'll help everybody. Because she said in that moment, I won't, I can't. It's not where I'm able to help you. And it was so beautiful. It was no pressure. It made me, and it didn't make me feel bad either. I didn't feel like shame or somehow less than. It was like, well, at the end of the day, I wasn't ready. And that's okay. And it was perfect. It was beautiful. I was so grateful. And so it matters how we speak to our audience, who we're speaking to, the language we use, and the integrity that we uphold. Because at the end of the day, you're so right. Our name is attached to everything we do. Everything. Whether it's a podcast, because I know you and I have both been guests on plenty of those, whether it's even just doing a strategy call with someone who chooses not to work with us. It's important that we uphold our integrity and still support them and love them, even if they're like, this isn't a good fit for me, or I'm not in a position to take this step. It's still important to be kind and to be loving and to say, that's okay. I understand. And if you don't mind, I'll check on you later, or whatever the next step is. Cause I know you and I both ask, can we continue to check on you? And that's not with pressure. It's because we want to make sure people are okay, that they're going to be okay, and that they don't ever feel alone after they've come into encounter with us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, to me, that's why I think that knowing who that person is, that ideal client or your avatar, the better clarity we have on that person, the better our marketing messages will be, the better we can deliver helpful information, because we're giving helpful information to the right person that's at the right place and time, right? Like that actually needs that information. Because, like, I'll give you an example. So like on LinkedIn, my headline, I help seasoned professionals to navigate a career crossroads, to advance their career, and to have a greater sense of work-life fulfillment, right? something like that. I mean, it changes like almost weekly, but it's something like that. The important part is that those are the outcomes that I help people accomplish, like successfully navigate a career crossroads to advance, like take your career to the next level, whatever that looks like to you, but usually it's to make more money than what you're making now, but also to give yourself the more freedom to live your life and enjoy it, because we only have one, right? Those are the outcomes, but to me the most important thing of that statement, from as far as I'm concerned, is the seasoned professional part.
Yes.
Like to me, that part, being specific, is like a non-negotiable, because as a career coach, like you said, yeah, I can help anybody. I can help someone that's at the beginning of their career. I can help a high school student that's trying to figure out what they want to major in for college, right? I can help them, but who do I like? Then I have to take myself back to high school and the level of life experience that people have in high school, as opposed to being a mid-career professional, a seasoned professional, right? I know that I am all in to those conversations with people that are in the middle of their career, and they're just like, something just doesn't feel right to me anymore, and I don't want to start back from square one, because I've accumulated all of this experience up until this point, but how can you apply that differently so that I'm making a deeper impact through my work, and I also get to enjoy my life, right? Like, those are the conversations that really turn me on. So, back to the whole, marketing piece, knowing that I love to work with those people, then my language, my marketing language, my resources, my webinars, like all of the things that I do are geared toward that audience. And not only that, because I'm all into those conversations, because I'm all about it, they turn me on and all of that, my brain is firing in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm able to deliver, like a more valuable experience to them. And that part, I think, is really important. And I take so much time now to say it, because we're talking about like what experiences that we had at the beginning when we were first like forming our business, before we were focused on growing it, and what we were going through. I was thinking about getting specific with the person that I was trying to help.
Yeah, it seemed counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, because right, and I resisted that for the longest time, because I was like, no, because the more specific I get, then the more I like, narrow down my possibilities.
Yeah.
And that, like, you said it in the beginning, that scarcity mindset. Like, it is totally counterintuitive.
Right. Well, okay, so let me ask you this. For those of our listeners that are brand new, they don't have their ideal client figured out. They're not sure how to start. They don't even know who they necessarily want to help. Is there a piece of advice that you've either read or been given that really helped your mind and the gears in the mind to start working towards, okay, who is my ideal person? Who is my target audience? Is there something that's coming forward for you that you had ever been told or read about that really helped you to shift into that mindset of figuring that out? Because I remember years ago, this was all the talk, right? And I used to kind of get like irritated, like, everybody is saying this, but I have no idea. I have no idea who my person is. I can literally help everybody, right? So is there something that, and I have one as well, but do you have something that's come forward that you can share with our audience?
I probably was told this, when, how, or by who, I don't remember, because it really feels like it's coming naturally from me. But I was probably told this by somebody else, another coach probably, or maybe even all of my coaches in the past. I don't know. It's this is a culmination of all of that. and infused with my own advice from my own experience, is to think back to the people that you've actually helped. You know, that they're like, Anna, you changed my life. I am so thankful for you. Wow, that was so perfect. It was a life-changing experience. I will forever be grateful to you. People that have said that to you, or that were somewhere in that realm. You know, maybe it wasn't like you changed my life, but it was like, I don't know where I would be today without you. You've been instrumental in helping me turn an important corner that I needed to turn. Someone like that. If there's one person, fine. If there's more than one person, great. Think about who those people are and look at what they have in common, right? Like, zoom out for a minute, use your big picture thinking, and find the pattern that is common with all of them. You know, and for me, it's like that people are mid-career. It's also some other things, like in terms of what they value and how their brains naturally process information. I won't even go into that, maybe later on or some other conversation, but there's some similarities. But the biggest one is where they are at this point in their career that really stuck out to me, and that's for me. But it doesn't have to be like that. From, like, depending on what your focus is, what is it? Like, is it the particular problem that they're experiencing? Is it the way that they approach decisions around some area? Like, what is that? Knowing what that is really gives you a wonderful starting point to be able to formulate a picture of who that ideal client is for you. What about you? What is it for, how has it been for you, or what do you use? This is such an important conversation that is fascinating to me, because it's like this topic, I feel like, is forever evolving, forever evolving. So I love to talk about it and just get more clarity. What about for you, Anna?
Yeah. So a long time ago, when I really had no idea, one of the coaches I was following, in fact, I think it was the one I had just shared with you about, but she said, even if you don't know who your ideal client is, look, like, Google pictures of people in certain attire that seems like it's in alignment with the industry or the level of, professionalism that you want to work with. And so I just went online, Googled like professional women, because at the time it was just women, and kind of printed out. And she said, print out the pictures and then just like spend time kind of just getting that look of that person in your psyche, like kind of in your subconscious, right? And I thought, this is ridiculous. But fast forward years later, the people who I actually ended up working with, and they're all executive level. It's like accountants, business owners, bookkeepers, presidents, CEOs. Like, those are the people who I oftentimes end up working with. But all the women that I printed out had the attire to match exactly who my ideal client was. And fast forward a few years, and that's who I work with. And so what I would encourage whoever is listening to do, if they're brand new, have fun with it. Because the worst thing we can do for ourselves when we're trying to grow our business and stay encouraged is to feel like we don't have an answer. The mind is so beautiful that if we ask ourselves a question, the mind will come up with an answer. So if you quietly sit for a moment and think, well, who do I want to work with? Then you'll start to get answers. And then from there, you can have fun with it, get online, Google pictures. And eventually you're going to think to yourself, maybe, let's say, I have worked in the medical field. I have not. I'm just giving an example for someone who's trying to make the connection. Let's say I have worked in the medical field. I was a receptionist for a hospital, and I saw all the time that doctors needed blank. And I recognized I had the ability to talk to them. I understand their life because I saw it every day. And so my ideal client will be surgeons who work specifically on children, whatever, right? But that's how it grows. That's how it starts, is when we look at, okay, kind of who do I want to work with? What do they kind of look like? What do I know most? And then to your point, who has come, if you are seasoned or if you have had clients that you have, been able to work with, then the question is, what's the majority of the people that I work with? What do they have in common, or what industry are they from? And how does it feel? And then that's how we really learn, because we're not going to know. Some people might know right away, but then they might think they know and they dive into it and they're like, this isn't fruitful for me or them. And then they have to pivot, right? So that would be my biggest suggestion. Those were the things that really happened for me that impacted me, was the playful side of it. Like, go online, have fun, look to see who it is that you want to work with and what do they look like? Are they restaurant owners, right? That has a look to it, like you're going to find pictures of, I don't know, Guy Fieri or other famous chefs and restaurant owners. Is it someone that's, you know, owns nurseries? And I don't mean that maybe child nurseries, but also the plant nurseries. What do they have in common? How do they look? Why do they matter to you? Is it because you stand by their like what they're doing in the world? If you're looking for people who own actual child cares, like daycares or whatever, what is it about them that puts you on fire? Is it their passion for children? Is it that you had a wonderful, let that evolve, have fun with it and see where it goes. Because the one thing that you and I both know as business owners is we have to always posture ourselves in a position of willingness to learn, grow, and potentially evolve into something or out of something. We've got to be fluid and we've got to be playful, because when we first met, you and I both were like very analytical. We were like, I'm tired of this. We want a certain result. That's why we hired that coach that we happened to be in her program. And then we realized, like, we got to loosen up a little bit, loosen up our buttons here. Like, you got to have some fun with it, because when you're too serious, nobody wants to work in the energy of too serious, because they're just going to feel that. But when there's playfulness around it, things come. And it took me a long time to recognize that too, that it is important to have fun and be playful, because that's when things do come forward for us. And so anyway, long answer, but think about who you want to work with and why. What do they look like? What kind of industry does that person work in? And does that sound like something that you want to help with, and why? Why do you want to help them? And that will help start to narrow that scope.
I really like that, because what you're talking about is creating like a visual image in your mind. And that becomes, if nothing else, your starting point. Like progress over perfection, right? We're not going to be able to perfectly identify that person in the beginning. As we've been talking about, that ideal client, that image of the ideal client, or the features of the ideal client, are going to evolve over time. And when I say features, I'm not talking about like physical features, right? I'm like talking about the kind of person, with the qualities, that you love to work with, right? So like that becomes clear and clear and clearer for you over time, as you adopt, and I talk about this a lot, an experimentation mindset, right? So like pick a starting point and start there. And then as you work there for a little while, in this case, we're talking about our ideal client. When you're working with that ideal client for a little while, notice how that feels. Like you said, notice how it feels. Are there parts of it that, like with certain people, you notice things about them that you like? Which relationships are like butter?
Yeah.
And which ones are the opposite, right? Like, and what is it? What's the difference between those two different kinds of people? You learn to pick that out, add that to your image of your image of your ideal client, and now, shift in that way. But you can only do that if you carry what I call the experimentation mindset, where you're like, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to keep what works and I'm going to tweak what doesn't. Like, but now I'm doing it like I'm making informed decisions about those tweaks. I'm not going at it willy-nilly because I've gathered some information. I've given myself some time to gather enough information to make an informed decision about what I'm going to tweak and how. And then I'm going to try that. And then I'm going to ask myself again, what worked, what didn't work, and make an informed decision. So this is like, without that kind of a fluidity, we could very easily become overwhelmed, give up, and just check out.
Yeah.
We have to be agile. We have to be fluid. We have to continuously ask ourselves questions. We have to continuously learn from our experiences and grow. That's just the name of the game. That's part and parcel. When you running a business, a coaching business in particular, from my experience, I'm talking about, it is a continuous learning and growth journey, continuous.
Yeah. Yep. You're 100% correct. And I agree with you. And it's important to go into it thinking that, because then we're putting ourselves in a position to give ourselves grace when things don't go as expected, or when you feel like you've heard 1,000 no's before you get your first one. Because that's another thing, as we've talked about, is a lot of times people will get these crazy ratios. Well, you have to ask 100 times before you get one yes. Well, that may be true, but you might have to ask 200 times before you get a yes. And sometimes, best case scenario, you ask 50 times and you get 3 yeses. But the point is don't stick yourself in a box that, well, if I'm asking 200 people and they're all saying no, I'm in the wrong industry and I should give up. The question should become, okay, I'm asking these people, but they're not saying yes. So what is it about my question that could evolve and shift? What is it about maybe the words I'm using? What is it about the people I'm seeking? We think outside the box. Like you said, we zoom out, because in business, I know you and I both know this, we've talked about it a lot. It is so easy when we are sole owners, right, to take it personal at first, right? You start to feel like, not you, I have shared with you that it feels like, am I bothering these people by asking them how they're doing and if they can hop on a call? Is it something about me that they are just like, I don't want any part of? But the truth is, none of that is the truth. It is, you catch people either when they're in a position to, because they're hurting so bad, they need a change. You catch them when they've got the time to really read your messaging and take a moment to reflect and respond. Or you catch them when they're fine and they say, you know what, I'm doing great, but I don't, need anything right now. But the response is what we oftentimes put our measurement of success by. The truth is sometimes people will never respond. But we've talked, and we'll talk, I think, more about this next week, because I know we're coming up on our hour. But as far as marketing goes, you and I both know that just because a person sometimes doesn't seem like they're following or they wanted to be part of our network, it doesn't mean they're not watching and listening and learning from us. And so we need to be mindful of how we feel when we're doing the work of networking and trying to grow, because it is very much daunting and it is lonely if you don't have anyone else to talk it through. Like, did you have a week like this, or how are you feeling? And that's why we started this channel, was because we know that it can feel lonely as a coach, or even just a small business owner if you're doing it alone. It's important to have encouragement and to know that this is natural and part of the business, and to feel like we can celebrate those around us that are growing really quickly. It doesn't mean that we won't grow. It means we're just not there yet. And that's okay, because there's a reason why we're taking this difference in energy and momentum, but it's all good. And we have to remember that,
We really do. We really do. And so with that, I'd like to share. I know that we're doing it at the end. I think we're at the end of this conversation. I want to share another win, to wrap this conversation up. And it piggybacks on what you were just talking about, that it can be really daunting. It can be really lonely. But one of the things that's been a total game changer for me is growing my network and my friendships with people who are on a similar journey to mine. Because as a business owner, because when you decide to start your own business, okay, or start your own coaching business, which I keep saying that, but I'm reminding the audience that when I say starting your own business, I'm talking about a coaching business because that's what I have experience in. So that's my frame of reference. Anyway, when you are stepping away from whatever it was that you were doing before and starting your own coaching business, your life becomes very different to what it was before, and the way that people are used to relating to you in that life. Well, now you're doing something very different. Your focus is different. Your ideas are different. Your thought process, everything about you is different now. And that can feel very lonely because sometimes people don't understand. So a game changer for me has been to develop my network and friendships with people who are doing the same thing, because only they really understand what you're going through. And those relationships are incredibly uplifting. They are a source of learning. They are a source of support in a way that is different from anything else. So my big win that I want to share is having you. So for people that don't know, you and I didn't know each other last year. We met in March of this year. Okay. So we're like, in a few months, we're coming up on our 1 year friend anniversary, but we didn't know each other last year. We linked up because we're part of a coaching program, and we became accountability buddies, and our friendship has just absolutely blossomed. You're on one coast of the US and I'm on the other coast. Okay. Without that program, I don't know that our paths would have ever crossed, but I'm so incredibly grateful that it did, because ever since we met, we've been meeting weekly, and we talk in between the week on Voxer, and we're just constantly sharing knowledge, information, support, and we're just growing right alongside each other. And I am so incredibly grateful for this beautiful friendship that has blossomed between us. That to me is a huge win, to have someone like you that really understands what I'm going through. I understand what you're going through, and just being a sounding board for each other is so valuable. I can't even describe how valuable it is. So thank you for that, Anna.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I love, love, love that you're ending with that one, because I will reciprocate that right back to you. I mean, we talked about, I think we touched base last time that you have walked right alongside of me. We love each other. There's 110% support. There's times when you move faster with your business growing than mine, and then I'm able to still support you. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like, you know, competitive. It's like, no, like I'm your cheerleader. And then there are times where it's vice versa, where I'm growing and you're, in a not a standstill, but, kind of in the same, and you're right along there with me, cheering me on. And so that's why I've said it before and I'll say it again. And I don't know if you want to edit this out later, but the program that we met in, the coaching program, I didn't get much from the program, but I got you. And I would pay that money again and again and again just to have met you, because the impact you've had on my life with me, being that sounding board, knowing that we come together and we talk things through, we vox through each other. Anytime you see something that you think will serve me, you send it over, and I do the same for you. Anytime you know someone is burned out, you send them my way, and I've done the same for you. And it's so beautiful because at the end of the day, the world has enough people for all of us. And granted, you and I are in different industries, but my point is that we can share and share and share people, refer people, and it's good. It's good and it's loving and it's wonderful and it's how it should be. And so many coaches that we know, even coaches that we have worked with, their mindset is scarcity, you know, and they don't want to see other people thrive. They say they do, but I think if it's in the same industry, it makes them kind of feel like, oh, wait, I don't know if that's really what I want because it might take away from them, but that's not the truth. And so I'm so, so grateful that you and I met and that and it was beautiful too, because yeah, you're on one coast, I'm on the other, and it just works so well. And I just love it. I love that the wisdom that you've shared with me. I love the friendship that we've developed, and I love the support we give each other. And I love that you had, and we talk a lot about inspired action. 3 weeks ago, the inspired action that we start doing this for other people because people need it. They need to be reminded and they need to know they're not alone. And so I'm so grateful for you. And you're a huge one. And I said it and I'll say it again. I would do that program all over again, even with the frustration.
Oh, so yeah, to just to kind of like summarize, we don't have to first and foremost grow your network of people who are on a similar journey with their business as you are, because that support that you get and the learning and development and the wisdom that you share with each other is so incredibly valuable. You'll thank us for it later. And there's no reason for competition because you don't have to worry about anybody trying to take a slice of your pie, because guess what? There are enough pies to go around for everybody. So grow your network with other people who are starting their business or growing their business or a similar place that you are. Start somewhere with your ideal client. Start working on getting a picture of who that person is, do the work, adopt an experimentation mindset, and tweak and morph as you go with that person, because that is going to affect your marketing messages so that you're speaking more directly to that person. You know, it is counterintuitive, but the more specifically you can talk to your ideal client, the better able you're going to be to help more people that are like them, and the more enjoyment you're going to get out of your work, because ultimately that's what we're here to do, right? Like, I mean, like, to help people, but for our own sakes, we want to have a business where we get to do the work that we love to do. And part of that is the people that we work with. So you know, you got some great advice here on how to start identifying that ideal client. Take it, use it. And I'd love to know, Anna, wouldn't you love to know what people's thoughts, questions, comments, reactions are to this conversation that we had today? If you would like to interact with us, leave a comment and we'll reply to you, and we'll weave in, if you have questions, we can weave in those questions into our future conversations, which we're really excited to have here on Coach to Coach Real Talk. And with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. I am Grisel Scarantino, a career strategist, and I'm here with my friend
Anna Lovell Nesmith, and I'm a professional burnout specialist. But I wanted to add one more thing. If they don't want to comment where everyone can see it, they can also email us. And our email is coach@gmail.com, and we will respond to you.
There it is, coach to coach ga@gmail.com. Shoot us an email, respond in the comments, whatever floats your boat, but we would love to hear from you. Thanks for spending this time with us today. Looking forward to our next conversation, Anna.
Yes, thank you. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.